Hello everyone and welcome to our June review of the numbers submitted by yourselves to polestardriver.com. So let's get started. So here we can see as of the end of June we have data from 8 countries with 79 individual contributors and totaling 571 trips, which covers nearly 41,000 miles or 65,800 kilometers. So we have a good set of data to work with now, and we can review exactly what's going on in terms of efficiency, range, and all sorts of other numbers. So let's take a look. Here we see in June we had 96 submissions, another good month, just below the 100 that we received in May. So great effort by everyone, and thanks to everyone who has submitted data into the database. This slide here shows us all the contributors to date, 79 of them, and if you've submitted at least one trip, your name should appear here somewhere with your alias that you used. So let's have a look at the June awards for submissions. So starting in the top left, we have the person who submitted the most trips in June, and that is Otima with 24 trips. Great job. Then we have a new award, which is the most efficient driver in June, and here we have Chris Van Roey, I hope I've said that correctly, at 3.58 miles per kilowatt hour. The last one on there is the person who logged the most miles in June, and that award goes to Simo for 1,489 miles. Along the bottom you can see the numbers of the same trips, efficiency and distance, but for all the data that we have in the system. Don't forget, if you are one of the top 3 names in June, so Otima, Chris Van Roey or Simo, if you contact me on the Facebook page, I'm happy to send you an individualized report of all your trip data. Let's look at the consumption for June. So again in June the consumptions come down from 30.4 in May to 29.1 in June. That is kilowatt hours per 100 miles, or 18.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So the graph continues to fall over these summer months, and let's see what June and July look like. Here is the same data but converted to miles or kilometers per kilowatt hour. So in June we are looking at 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour or 5.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour. On the top right hand side you can see the average overall, so we're currently looking at 3.1 miles or 5.0 kilometers per kilowatt hour across all the months and the data that we have available. Real world range, PDRW, stands for Polestar Driver Real World Range, and here you can see in June it's gone up again from 250 in May, 250 miles in May to 260 miles in June as an average across all the data. And in kilometers, that's 403 kilometers in May up to 418 kilometers in June. So again, nice increase. On the top right hand corner you can see the data across all the months, and you'll see that in both miles and kilometers the difference to the EPA range is only 0.3%, so pretty close, and it appears that EPA range is quite a good calculation that they do. Compared to WLTP, which is 292 miles, the gap is currently 20.5% across all the months in the database. Here you can see the range by country. So across all of the months and all of the countries. Each country has its own line, and you can see how the range goes up and down depending on the season of that country. Temperature. So here we look at the bottom right hand side, which is the combined data, so people who submitted in both miles or kilometers and across all the months. So as you can see, temperatures greater than 30 degrees C is going up to 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, and on the other side of the coin, anything at less than 0 degrees is coming in at 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Preheating. So here it shows you the range, whether the car was preheated or not. So in June we see those who did not preheat are getting 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, while those who did preheat get 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Overall, bottom right hand side, 3.1 for no preheating and 2.9 for preheating. Here's our preheating crossover. So the crossover point is still 9 degrees C or 48 Fahrenheit. So more than 9 degrees C, it appears that it's better not to do preheating, while less than 9 degrees C, it is better to do preheating so that you get a better range. Average temperatures, just to show how the average temperatures change across the year and the data in the system. So in June we had average temperature registered of 21 degrees, or 70 Fahrenheit, and the dotted line across there shows the average, which was 11 degrees in Celsius. One pedal driving. Here across all the months we have 557 entries, and as you can see, bottom right hand corner, one pedal driving off gives you a range of 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, while one pedal driving on low or standard gives 3.0. The low one is slightly lower than the standard. It's just because of rounding, they both show at 3.0. So not a big difference, and one pedal driving is mainly a driver preference. Do you like driving with one pedal on or off? In terms of range, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Road conditions, we all know that when it's nice and dry, we get a more efficient car. When it's wet, we get a less efficiency. So we're looking at 3.2 bottom right hand corner across all months for 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour in dry conditions and 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour in wet conditions. Driving style, this is nothing that can be measured. It's just a question on the form that you fill in, and you choose whether you are driving economically, normal, or with a heavy foot, sporty. Here you can see the difference between eco 3.5 and sporty at 2.6. Average speed. So here again we see that there is not really much of a difference between the light blue and the dark blue. So anything up to 50 miles per hour is giving a similar kind of reading. Over 50 miles per hour is giving slightly less at 2.8. Distance, so here we see, as expected, short trips are the least efficient, less than 15 miles, and then it goes up 15 to 62 seems to be the optimal range, or even up to 125 miles getting a similar kind of reading, and after that it drops down to 3, but again not much difference between the start or the least and the most. average distance of trips in the database. So here we see for those that log their trips in miles, the average trip distance 66 miles. For those in kilometers, the average trip distance is 125 kilometers, and combined the average trip distance is 72 miles per trip in the database. That's all we have for this month. Apologies for getting the report out a few days late. The report will be available on the website at polestardriver.com, and there you can browse through all the pages and take a look at other data that we haven't covered in this video. Thanks again for joining, and if you like these videos, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified when next month's data will be available.